sure smaller folks can get up to the front. Slide in either to the left or right so everybody can get through the doorway. Again, feel free with those cameras. Okay, so let's talk about what we're seeing in this room. So first of all, there's a circle of tables, and there are 13 of them. So obvious question, well, why 13 tables?
13 columns.
So you guys made the same guess that we made in figuring out this room. We don't know who sat where. We don't know how many tables were sat. But we know there were 13 colonies. We know that every colony got one vote, no matter how big or small they were. So it makes perfect sense. Each one has its own table. We call an educated guess. Now, someday we might find out we're wrong about it. It makes sense. Another thing, they do things in order. They usually do the order of north to south. So again, it would make sense that they sat that way. So our best guess tells us to your north are the northern states, more south, the southern. So up at this end you have like New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Down at this end, South Carolina and Georgia. And right in the middle, I got New Jersey on one side of me, Pennsylvania on the other. Exactly where I am in the real world. So it's all a guess, and someday we find out we're backwards, but at this point, it's what makes the most sense. Again, things in this room from the time. We do have things in this room that belong to men that came to this room. This is probably Delaware. There's a walking stick that belongs to a man from Delaware named George Reed on the table. Now, don't feel bad if you don't really remember George Reed, but George Reed did sign the United States Constitution in this room in 1787, one of 39. He also, 11 years earlier, signed the Declaration of Independence in this room in 1776. You're talking about narrow company, guys that signed both of it, there's 6. He's one of them. I know that's his walking stick. I have no idea if he ever brought that walking stick into this room. I have. But it gives us a connection. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. Make a little bit of a connection with these men. So what men are we talking about? Let's talk about Ben Franklin, Pennsylvania. Ben Franklin had been talking about getting these colonies to work together since the 1750s, since what we know as the French and Indian War. It doesn't really work. The colonies aren't really ready to get together, but then when things get bad enough with the British, that's kind of what draws them to this room. The first time that all 13 colonies sit down in the same room at the same time is when the Continental Congress gathers in this room in the spring of 1775. It's the first time they're all sitting together. Franklin had this plan of kind of a union of us all, and he reworked it at the beginning of things and called it the Articles of Confederation, which is sort of going to be eventually the first agreement that we make of these 13 that's working together. But that's not why we're all here. We're all here for that other big thing that they're going to write in this room, and that's the Declaration of Independence. Now, what's the date? What's the kids? What's the date of the Declaration of Independence? Celebrate every summer. 4th of July. What year? 1776, 4th of July. They first gathered in this room in April 1775. So they're not necessarily thinking about independence when they first sit down. What they're thinking about are the problems that are happening. And they're going to do 2 big things in 1775. Number 1, they're going to create an American army. Who do they pick to be their general? George Washington. Now, when they create this army, the funny thing is they're going to write a letter to King George after. And they're going to say to the king, look, Your Majesty, we are loyal subjects. We're fighting for our rights. We feel like they're being taken away. We're asking King George, can you step forward to help us to fix these problems? Now, does the king ever help us? You know, why should? I mean, honestly, if I'm King George III, why do I want to talk to these guys in Philadelphia? Number 1, nobody authorized them. No part of the British government said, hey, we should have this Continental Congress. Number 2, they're fighting against me. They created this army. So, yeah, I don't want to talk to these guys. So, in the meantime, their war is kind of growing and continuing. Now, let's talk just 1 second about George Washington here. Does he win the war? He does. Otherwise, we don't speak English today. But you were awake. I like it. So here's the thing. We have no idea we're going to win a war. Great Britain is literally one of the biggest, wealthiest countries in the We're 3 million people maybe in the United States at that time, and maybe half of us are in favor of independence. There's a big chunk that are loyal and another big chunk that are kind of waiting to see what happens. So it doesn't seem like good odds, but somehow George Washington commands this American army for 8.5 years, and it actually does win. Now these guys have no idea how good a choice they made. The first big decision they made, they couldn't have done better. In the meantime, we roll into the year 1776. This little book called Common Sense is published about 3 blocks in front of you. And it's written by this unknown writer at the time named Thomas Paine, and he argues we don't even need those guys in England. We're better off without them. So this idea of independence starts to grow. And of course, as we said, July 4th, 1776. So who's the writer of that Declaration of Independence? Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson is a famous name for us. He's on Mount Rushmore today, after all. Well, Thomas Jefferson was 33 years old. He was one of the youngest men here. It's probably Virginia. He was not a famous guy when they picked him to write the Declaration of Independence. He was working with 2 guys who were better known. He's working with Ben Franklin, that guy. Ben Franklin was literally one of the 5 or 6 most famous men in the entire world in 1776. And then this guy from Massachusetts named John Adams, who's probably the most important guy in Congress in those days, making things happen. The Army, the Navy, Washington, a lot of those things. Adams is a big part of pushing through. But they like the way Jefferson writes. And that's what's going to make Thomas Jefferson Thomas Jefferson. He's going to write the Declaration of Independence. He works on it for about 2 weeks. And on the 1st of July, that's the date we're going to officially start debating. By the 2nd of July, they've decided that independence is what they want. And then by the 4th of July, they finished working through that declaration, getting it so everybody can live with it, is happy with it. And they vote on July 4th. They pass this declaration. They put United States of America right across the top. To me, I like to say that's the first time we can use that name of ours. And then they all went to the barbecues and fireworks, right? Except, here's the other thing that was happening on July 4th, 1776. New York City is about 90 miles that way. If you were in New York on July 4th, 1776, no Statue of Liberty yet. What you would have seen in New York Harbor is literally several hundred British warships. They are literally invading New York on July 4th, 1776. They've already landed 9,000 men the day before. So we're sitting here in Philadelphia debating independence. New York's getting invaded by the British that way. So things are really happening, and they're not going well for us. So if you think about the Declaration of Independence, think about it for these men. It's not just about all men are created equal. It's not just about life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Those are the big ideas that make us the United States. But at that time, it's all about war. It's a whole long list of reasons why we're right. Those guys in England are wrong. Because the men sitting in this room know they need all the help they get. They need people like you and me to step up and fight and support and just hang in there for the next, as it turns out, 8 years, 7.5 years. So it works. It keeps us going. Now, Ben Franklin, of course, is going to go over to France, convince the French to help us. By the way, when Ben Franklin convinces French to help us, British Army sitting in this room, because they captured Philadelphia in 1777. This building is British headquarters for like 9 months. Same winter that George Washington's at Valley Forge. And if you know about that part of the story, we're not really going well, but we're hanging in, and that's what counts. We keep going, and we somehow manage to win our independence. And 1783, the British let us go. 1783, 7 years. So the war is over. We have this Articles of Confederation. Ben Franklin's idea. Does it work? We don't think about it much. Problem is this. The states are in charge of themselves. They're like little countries. They all wrote their own constitutions. To do things often, you needed all 13 states to agree. Now, just start to imagine if we needed all 50 states to agree on something today. It's hard to imagine anything ever happening. It's the same for these guys. John Adams would say, it is almost impossible to make 13 clocks chime at the same time. And you have states fighting with each other, literally fighting with each other over who owns what land or who gets to use what river. The one I like to talk about is the Potomac River. Now, most of us know the Potomac River today because that's where we find Washington, D.C. The border between Maryland and Virginia. Next door neighbors, they got this river between them. They fought about that river and who owned the land on either side and all that good stuff. Well, there's no way to settle things unless the states can work it out for themselves. Congress doesn't have the power to do that. So when the war ended, George Washington, to try to figure some of this stuff out. He literally has to have a meeting in his house with guys from both states sitting there trying to negotiate, and it worked, sort of, at least for a while. But just to kind of let you know, the Maryland-Virginia story doesn't end. There's a case in the United States Supreme Court less than 10 years ago between Maryland and Virginia, and you probably guess where this is going. It's about the Potomac River, who owns it, still arguing now. But now we have a U.S. Supreme Court that can help to figure stuff like this out. So you go back to a guy like George Washington. That's what he believes. He believes not 13 states. He believes not one United States. We win the war, 13 of us together, the bright future, all of us together. What we need, he and some of these other guys are going to say, is we need a national government. That's what we need. So guys like him and James Madison and Alexander Hamilton are going to help organize what we call the Constitutional Convention. Back in this very same room, the summer of 1787, and really when you think about the United States, this is where we're invented. Not so much the Declaration of Independence, but that Constitution. That is what makes us what we are today. That's what makes us what we've been, what we will be. Comes out of this room in 1787. The first thing they did when they sat down together is they picked George Washington to lead them. Just like they did at the beginning of the war, they did it again for the Constitution. George Washington sat right here. And when I mean right here, I mean right here. This chair is the only thing I can show you that we are 100% certain is exactly where it's meant to be. This chair was made for this spot. Now, it wasn't here in 1776 because it wasn't actually made until 1779. But when they wrote our Constitution, George Washington sat right here in this chair and led. Now, I'll get back to that chair in just a second. One of the reasons we know we have the right one. So let's talk about, let's talk about Pennsylvania, where we are, and Delaware, that's right next to us. Everybody real quick tell me the difference between Pennsylvania and Delaware? Size, that's obvious. No offense to Delaware, but Delaware is very small. Pennsylvania, on the other hand, is pretty big. And that's going to be the biggest argument they're going to have. Because when they're starting to talk about what we want to do as a nation, guys are going, like Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, they're going, what do we need states for? Everybody's an American. Who cares what state you're from? Now, Pennsylvania, New York, Virginia, they're like, hey, let's have people voting for things. We the people. Those famous 3 words at the front of our Constitution come from James Wilson in Pennsylvania. He always believes whenever we vote on anything, it should be the people voting. Now, the thing about New York and Virginia and Pennsylvania, what they 3 have in common, they're the big ones, right? So a little state like Delaware's going, yeah, hang on a minute there, fellas. Before you want to vote by people, when you got all the people and will run everything, we've always done it where every state was equal. What's wrong with that? Delaware says we're not agreeing to anything where every state doesn't have an equal say. This is small states, big states. 2 totally different views. Well, how are you going to find an answer? What are you going to do? Like weeks and weeks and weeks they argued round and round. Well, Connecticut. One of the guys from Connecticut is a man named Roger Sherman. I didn't mention his name earlier, but he was one of the guys who worked with Thomas Jefferson on the Declaration of Independence. Roger Sherman is probably one of the more important people that we never think about. So not only working on the Declaration, but here for the Constitution, he and the other guys from Connecticut come up with a kind of dirty word for us today: compromise. We don't want to. Nobody wants to compromise, because when you compromise, you get some of what you want, but you sure don't get all of what you want. We call this one the Great Compromise, and it's simple to us today. It's a Senate where every state is equal, just like Delaware wanted. A House of Representatives that's based on people, just like Pennsylvania wanted. So both sides get something, but nobody gets everything. So you're never sure. You're like, you don't like that, but I don't like that. Think about the Electoral College. It's the same idea. This is a smart group of guys. You don't get much smarter than guys like Madison, Hamilton, Franklin. But these guys, there's no real great answer to this. So they say, well, let's do this. The Electoral College, every state matters, and it might come down to that small states vote when we vote. But then the bigger states get more. So you're trying to make everybody happy, again, in a way that nobody's 100% happy. So it's the last day. The Constitution is written. Benjamin Franklin, by the way, is 81 years old. He comes in that last day with a speech. He starts it off by saying, there are things in this Constitution I do not approve. But he says, I'm old enough to know I'm not perfect, and I've been wrong, and I've changed my mind. He says, none of us are perfect. His words, and they're great. He says, we should all doubt a little our own infallibility. We shouldn't all think we're perfect. He says, I do not expect anything better than this Constitution. He says, we should all sign it. And I don't know really argue with Ben Franklin, 81 years old or not. So September the 17th of 1787, these guys are going to walk up here and sign our Constitution. As they sign, and one of the reasons, again, I know this is the right chair, as they're signing their names, Benjamin Franklin points to this chair, and he says, take a look behind George Washington. There's a carving on the back of the chair of a half sun. And he says that all summer he's been looking at that sun, and he's been trying to decide whether that sun is supposed to be going up, or is it rising, or is it setting, is it going down? And he couldn't tell, and kind of depending how things were going, he changed his mind, but now they're finished, they're signing. He says, now I have the happiness to know that is a rising and not a setting sun. He felt good. Well, let's see, 231 years, 6.5 months later, here we stand. We are using the same Constitution today. We're using the same government that they invented today. We've gotten better. And I'll give you two quick examples. Number one is slavery. They talked about slavery. There's some great speeches about ending slavery, but it didn't happen. Especially down south. I don't know about that. They put it aside for 20 years. It would take 80, it would take the Civil War, but eventually, what ended slavery is actually the U.S. Constitution, 13th Amendment. Outlawed slavery. Women. Yeah. Sorry, they didn't talk about you guys for a minute in this room, and you're going to wait a half century longer than slavery, but 99 years ago this August, the 19th Amendment gives women the right to vote. So, maybe not as quick as we want, but through the years, kind of like that rising sun, I see us growing bigger and better as we go. So as usual, Ben Franklin's right. Now, last thing, there's another tour behind us, and I want to make sure you guys can get a couple photos still need to. So this is where we finish. We're going to be exiting into the backyard again, which will be to the left. I'm going to get out of the way so you guys can take